back to another episode of 50/50. I'm Christopher.
And I'm Charles.
And together we are walking up and down the top 50 and bottom 50 movies of all time, according to the Internet Movie Database as of January 1st, 2010. It's always important to include that because these movies change. By the way, shameless plug, if you ever want to see these movies, buying the Apocalypse Now collection on iTunes, you get the theatrical, Redux, the final cut, and Hearts of Darkness. It's like the final dossier thing. Yeah, like exactly. Yeah. I was actually shocked because I think when they dropped the final cut, it was like $14 for the whole like final dossier thing, which I was like, that is crazy inexpensive for the number of things. Anyway, shameless plug. If you don't own it, it's well worth the like $12, $14, $20 you'll spend for it, whatever. So yeah, we'll just dive right into Apocalypse Now, I suppose. Then the synopsis according to IMDb: Apocalypse Now, a U.S. Army officer serving in Vietnam, is tasked with assassinating a renegade special forces colonel who sees himself as a god. It's an interesting kind of synopsis there, but we'll roll with it because IMDb.
This is the end, beautiful friend.
I'd been a soldier since I was 19, and I still haven't learned how to wait for it. I wanted a mission for my sins. They gave me one. Nobody'd ever gone on a mission like it before. And when it was over, I'd never want another one.
Your mission is to proceed up the Nung River in a Navy patrol boat. Pick up Colonel Kurtz's path at New Mung Ba. When you find the colonel, infiltrate his team by whatever means available and terminate the colonel's command.
Terminate.
Terminate with extreme prejudice.
My orders say I'm not supposed to know where I'm taking this boat, so I don't. But one look at you and I know it's gonna be hot.
We'll pick your boat up and put it down like a baby right where you want it. This is the first of the night. Air Cav, son.
We'll come in low out of the rising sun, and about a mile out we'll put on the music. It scares the hell out of the Stokes. My boys love it. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. It smells like victory.
Man, this is better than Disneyland.
I'm short and we gotta go up there so you can kill one of our own guys. You so bad, huh? That's how you think you bad, huh?
They're all dead, stupid.
Who's the commanding officer here?
Ain't you?
He was close. He was real close. I couldn't see him, but I could feel him.
These are all his children, man, as far as you can see. They think you've come to take him away, and I hope that isn't true.
Could we, talk to Colonel Kurtz?
You don't talk to the colonel, well, you listen to him.
Are you an assassin? I'm a soldier. You're an errand boy. Sent by grocery clerks. To collect the bill.
And that is Apocalypse Now from 1979 or 2003 or 2020, depending on which cut you decided to watch. So, what did you think of this movie? Since you hadn't seen the final cut, and just kind of in general, what do you think of this film?
The last episode we did, we talked about. I said I was going to watch the final cut because I hadn't seen it. Topher said he hadn't watched the theatrical cut in forever, so that's the one he watched. There's also the Redux, so there's three different versions plus the work print cut, which was even longer. And I think the one he showed at the first festivals was a different cut too. It's very much like Blade Runner.
I was just going to say, I think at Con it was the work print that he.
Oh, was it? Okay, but it's a lot like it's a lot like Blade Runner, where Ridley Scott keeps tinkering with it, and he says he's got the last version. But Oliver Stone did the same thing with Alexander. He made the final cut, called the final cut, and then a few years later he made the ultimate cut. So who knows? But we were saying earlier that Francis Ford Coppola...
It's really not fair to put that in that pantheon of movies.
Well, okay, fine. But I was saying, we were just, Francis Ford Coppola, owns the rights to Apocalypse Now because he financed it himself. And so that's why he can tinker with it. But we also said he did mess with The Godfather Part 3, which he doesn't have the rights to, but through Paramount, they allowed him to do it, and they gave him some money, and apparently it's better than the original. So this is number 36, or it was number 36 on IMDb's list, and and I mean it's. So you asked me what I think of it. I like it, I do, but this is I think a lot in my head. I compare it to Full Metal Jacket, both Vietnam War movies, but I like this one a lot more than Full Metal Jacket. But as I said, we've talked about Full Metal Jacket before. I think that's half a movie. I hate the second half of that movie. To me, they kill off the best characters in the movie, and then we go on this thing that's kind of like a satire of the war, especially that shootout scene with the snipers. I never liked the tone of that. It just never felt realistic at that point. Whereas this one, I feel like it feels realistic. Coppola said, this isn't a movie about Vietnam. It is Vietnam. And I always thought that was a little pretentious. I mean, they didn't film it in Vietnam. They filmed it in the Philippines. It's not the exact experience, but it's close. And but regardless, I like this movie. I don't like the ending. Pretty much when it gets to the compound, I lose it a little bit. I feel like tonally it shifts significantly. And I get where they were going with it because it's loosely inspired by a few different things. Heart of Darkness is a big one. That's the one it's mostly inspired by. There's even the character Kurtz in that book. In this one, it's played by Marlon Brando as Colonel Kurtz. But it's also the writer talked about how he also was inspired by the Odyssey, and the Robert Duvall character's name was Kilgore, and Kilgore is supposed to represent the Cyclops, and the Playmates that you saw in the trailer there, they're representing the Sirens. I also was talking to my wife about it, and it also, I believe it's partially inspired by Dante's Inferno and doing the 7 layers of hell or whatever. So again, it's very much inspired by all that, and I think it's genius up to, like I said, the ending. And I think it's one of the best shot movies ever. I mean, the cinematography is gorgeous. And I think it does have some important things to say about the Vietnam War. And probably it is probably the closest thing you could get to having experienced it. They originally were writing it in the late 60s, early 70s, and they wanted to shoot it in Vietnam. I don't know if George Lucas was going to direct it at one point, if he's just helping out, but he was part of it, and they were going to shoot it in Vietnam while the war was still going on. That didn't happen. Coppola ended up going on to direct Godfather 1 and 2. He won Best Director, and for Part 2, and so he had a little more clout by that period. But he still had to finance this movie on his own. But yes, I do like it, and it's the ending for me. I think it just kind of feels a little weird, doesn't connect with the rest of it. And I also, it's the, I don't know, this will be a weird thing maybe, but I don't like that they actually killed like a water buffalo in the movie.
Yeah.
And that bothers me, and maybe that's part of my distaste for the ending, the way it goes, but anyway, go ahead, Topher.
Yeah. No, so before I dive into everything else, I agree with you. That is the hardest part of this movie to watch. And it's weird because it not that this is probably a better touchstone for you than it is for me, but it kind of reminds you of like Cannibal Holocaust, where
Oh,
like
yes.
everybody's like the killing of the turtle and all that, where
Yes.
it's like that's the part everybody talks about, not the killing of the people. That's like gruesome and like he had to bring them into court to prove he didn't kill them. Like no, it's the turtle. The turtle is what bothers everybody, right? Like,
Well, but,
and
but it's
I feel
because
like
we know it's real. That's the problem.
you know it's real. That's right. That's exactly right. And yeah, I think, you know, we can talk about the animal rights position of like, is it better to have like a quick death but live your entire life in a feedlot, or live your entire life in a rice paddy and then have a horrible death? I don't know. I'm not trying to argue one versus the other, but regardless, it is unpleasant to watch because it is not a quick death that this animal
Well, and they do
suffers.
the same thing in Fast Food Nation. If you saw that, they show like the killing of a cow for beef, and they show it in full detail. And it again, I think Francis Ford Coppola used it in a way to. I mean, it's edited back and forth with Martin Sheen.
Oh yeah,
doing what he does, and we're not going to get spoilers here, but it's you know, it seems like he's trying to say something with that statement.
But absolutely.
But you know, when you watch the Hearts of Darkness, they talk about this movie being made, and it was torturous for Coppola and torturous for a lot of the actors. Martin Sheen, who was 36 at the time, had a massive heart attack and nearly died. And he also in the scene in the hotel room, you know, at the beginning. They got him. He basically drank till he was stone cold drunk. He was just over, you know, more than drunk. He was wasted, and they just basically had him trying to find that in himself and just do what came naturally. And he punched that mirror and cut himself. And they, you know, he's bleeding all over himself. And they tried to stop and bring in the medic, and he's like, no, and he kept going with it. And you know, so that's another thing. It's like, that's crazy. You're seeing his actual blood in the thing, and it's wild.
I think there is, so going back a little bit here to kind of the bigger picture portion of it, because I agree with everything that you're saying, right? But I think if you go back to that original statement that you said that like Coppola made, where my film's not a movie, it's not about Vietnam, it is Vietnam, that whole thing. The next half of that statement is, there were too many of us. We were in the jungle, and slowly, one by one, we went crazy. And I think I don't know if this makes sense, but it's almost like he was method directing, where it was almost like, we're going to like shoot entirely on location. We're not going to really quite know what we're doing. We're going to have more money than we know what to do with. I mean, if that's not an exact metaphor for the Vietnam War, I don't know what is, right? And I agree. And I think that this movie is, and I agree with you to some extent that it feels more realistic, partially probably because it was all shot on location, than Full Metal Jacket. But I feel like this movie is more of like an oil painting portrait of Vietnam, because it's not like Platoon or something where it's trying to capture like reality of life in Vietnam. I think maybe it was to some degree, but like, you know, like your French plantation sequence, you know, you get to like the whole like, is it Do Lung Bridge? Is that what it is? Where he's like, they're swimming out with the suitcases, and it's like I'm not saying that those things maybe they did happen, but it starts to feel very surreal.
But that's not in the original cut, that French plantation thing you're talking about. So
the French plantation is not, no. And I think that's another thing that I wanted to mention, is that if you have watched all three of these versions, I still think that I prefer Redux of all three of them. I think that might be my favorite. Like, watching the theatrical cut again, I was shocked, truly shocked by how much is not in that. I mean, Redux adds something like 50 minutes of content to a 2-hour movie. I mean, it's dang near 50% longer. I mean, it's enormously longer. And I think it makes a lot of those transitions as it goes along make more sense. Because sometimes if you just jump from point A to point G, you've gone too far and doesn't it doesn't fit. But if you go A, B, C, and you like slowly work your way down, those things start to make more sense. And I will also agree with you that when they get to the compound, the tone changes completely. I think it works. In my opinion, I think it works. I think that they have properly like paid for that and set that up so that when you get there, the payoff makes sense. It's not like a complete and total like left field kind of shot, in my opinion. I think it does work. I also think that one of the things, and by the way, everybody watching, we are referencing the documentary Hearts of Darkness constantly. If you have not seen Hearts of Darkness, but you have seen Apocalypse, you should absolutely go watch Hearts of Darkness. I think those two are companion pieces, and you should not watch one without watching the other, in my opinion. But one of the things they mentioned in there is I wanted it to feel like we were going back in time, right? And it's really interesting how things almost become more and more primeval as they go back, right? From like, here we are sitting in, a RV mobile home eating shrimp and roast beef off of plates, and terminate with extreme prejudice and all this, and then you have like helicopters flying around and boats, and then it starts to kind of weave its way back, and it really, I feel like once they get past the bridge, the Dolong Bridge, the whole, like, they have severed ties with reality, and they're just going back in time now, and it's really it's really fascinating to watch. You get to the point where they're being attacked. I mean, spoiler alert, one of them's killed with a spear. They're literally going back in time. Like the final, the final killing is done with a machete. I mean, it's like it's really fascinating how it just kind of like slowly goes back and gets more and more primitive. And it's almost like, and I may be reading into this too much, but it's almost stripping away all these things. It's easy to kill somebody if you're doing it with a missile from another continent. It's easy to kill somebody if it's done from a rocket. It's easy to kill somebody if it's done from an airplane or a helicopter or 1,000 yards away with a rifle. And it just keeps stripping it away until it's closer and closer and more and more and more personal, until it's like, hey, by the way, this is what you're doing to everybody. It's just now we're looking at it right in its face, and we're going to be right in it, and you're going to have to wallow in it and accept it. And it's just, I think that the story of this movie, probably because it was such a like labor for Coppola, because that poor guy just wrecked himself to make this movie.
Yes, he did.
But he didn't. But I think that part of the brilliance of that is nothing was unconsidered, right? Like it may not have been planned out ahead of time, but there was never a point where he's like, oh, that really doesn't matter. It's like, no, everything mattered. Every detail mattered. Like every thought, this needs to be perfect or it's not going in, and I think that means that when you get that final product, it feels like, oh, I can read it this way or that way. There's so many layers, and I can read into that or read into that. And it's just so, it's fascinating. It's really a great, but I think all the technical things you mentioned are true too. Cinematography, this is one of the most beautiful movies ever made. It's just gorgeously shot. I mean, just in every way. There's not one shot in this movie that doesn't look good. I mean, there really isn't. The performances are fantastic. Duvall got nominated, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he did.
He won. Brando's a basket case in this movie, and I think just in general he is. But this movie is kind of
let's talk about that, because for those that don't know, Brando, and this is after The Godfather, and in the 70s he'd kind of made a career comeback. Brando was known for kind of being a jerk. I mean, he really was on set. He just didn't care half the time. He wouldn't show up. And in this movie, which again is directed by Coppola, who directed him in The Godfather 1, and
he won an Oscar.
Directed him to an Oscar,
together.
yeah. And that and he also, Coppola fought to get Brando in that movie. So Coppola essentially revived his career. And even for Coppola, Brando was a jerk, and he would only work 3 weeks, and it'd have to be $1 million a week, and he got $1 million up front. And even then, their shooting went over schedule, and he didn't want to give them any slack. He didn't, he was just like, he didn't want to reschedule, didn't want to do this, and it was just like, and then he was considering backing out after he'd already been given $1 million in advance, and it's like, what? And then when he finally shows up and gets there, he's grossly overweight. And this is not a knock on being overweight. That's not what I mean at all. What I mean to say is that when he talked to Coppola originally, he was heavy at that point, and he kind of I guess they assumed that he would lose the weight, but instead he gained more weight and showed up. And so Coppola didn't really know how to shoot him. How do you film this? And you need it to look a certain way, and it's not. So I think in a lot of ways it actually made it better, honestly, because he shoots him in shadows and all that, doesn't really shoot his body. And I think they used doubles. They used really tall doubles, like to make it look like he was just a big guy. But yeah, Brando was like notoriously difficult on this movie. And I just don't understand that. I know he's trying to, buck conventions and all that essentially and poke fun at the film industry, I guess, a little bit, takes himself too seriously, but I just don't understand that. But having said that, he's really good in it, and his character does make you consider all the points about war and what it is, and how what's murder and in war. I mean, truly. So
well, and he has that great line where it's we teach boys to drop fire on other men, but they're not allowed to write profanity on the side of their planes because that would be obscene.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just a brilliant line. I mean, it's just fantastic. And you're right, especially if you have read Heart of Darkness, which how accurate they're trying to be to that book or not is up for debate. But, Kurtz in that book he's bedridden. He's literally a skeletal figure in the book. He's not an imposing person. And in the movie, he's supposed to be this like Green Beret dude who's going across the obstacle course with guys half his age, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that he is now in country fighting a war and is obese, it's got nothing to do with body shaming. It's got to do with like, buddy, this is a character and you're not embodying it.
Right.
And so it didn't anyway. But yeah, he's fantastic. All of that to say, he may be a pain to work with, but he brings it. Like when you watch it, you're like, man, this guy is convincing.
Well,
like,
and
he's freaking me
in
out.
that trailer, he gets top billing, and he's only in the movie for like less than 30 minutes of a 2.5, 3 hour movie. So
he did have to be the biggest star though, going into the.
I'm sure that was part of it. Well, Robert Duvall too. It's like Marlon Brando, Robert Duvall, and then Martin Sheen's listed. It's like he's the third one, but yeah.
It is funny to me, on a total tangent, on the like Redux and then the final cut, the kind of retcon of Lawrence Fishburne and Harrison Ford, and it's like, I know they're in the movie, but these are not top billed actors.
Speaking of that, Lawrence Fishburne, I believe I read that he was 14 when he made this movie.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. I think it's his first movie, and he lied about his age to get in. I mean, they're all good in it. I really do like it. For me, I think I like the final cut the most. We'll talk about that French plantation scene. I get why they did it. It's an interesting scene. And Coppola talked about how it's, almost like going back and like you said, going back in time. This is kind of like going back to the 50s. And it's interesting if you want to know like the political landscape of Vietnam that we don't often consider as Americans. But I think it slows down the movie. I wish the final cut didn't even have that scene, personally. But in the Redux cut, I don't like the extended like Playboy Bunny sequence. I think that's weird. And so it's like, I agree. I'm glad they took that out for the final cut. But overall, I agree with you that I think they're both better than the theatrical cut. They're much easier to appreciate and understand. It's really jumbled and honestly kind of a mess in the original theatrical cut for me. It doesn't make as much sense. It doesn't flow as well. It's hard. So I would say if you're a new person to this movie, I would seek out Redux or the final cut. Honestly,
I like Redux. Final cut may be more approachable because you're right, it does cut some of that extra fat out. But I think I still, again, I haven't sat down one day and watched the movie 3 different ways just to do them all side by side. But I think you're right. I don't know if jumbled would necessarily be the right word that I would go for, but I think abbreviated to the point that you lose context. Like it is so much shorter that you're almost lost at some points. Like, how did we go from here to here? Like the one thing that this is an absolute minuscule detail, but like, and I'm sorry, spoiler alert. If you haven't watched Apocalypse Now in the past 50 years, I'm so sorry. But like Lawrence Fishburne's character dies he dies. Well, in Redux and the final cut, you see what, like, they bury him.
Yeah,
right? You see
I
that.
do like that sequence
But
a
like,
lot.
but like they don't have that in the theatrical version, and maybe that's okay. Maybe I don't need to see exactly what happens to him, but we see what happens to other people who die and where they end up. Like, and so it's just kind of like he dies and he's on the boat, and then like the scene ends, and the next scene he's just kind of gone.
What
And
speaking of that, like that kind of stuff, there's a Martin Sheen ends up with a Band-Aid and then a scar on his face. And maybe I'm forgetting this, but what happened to his face? I don't remember seeing that in the final cut.
he had the Band-Aid on his face.
The first time I saw it was
If I
when he
rem-
went to the that you know the Playboy show. That's where the first time I saw him with the Band-Aid. But I couldn't remember
Right.
before that what had happened. They just got done with Kilgore, but
Maybe he got nicked or something during the kill. I can't
I didn't know if that was
but-
in Redux, and I just didn't remember it because I don't think I saw it in Final Cut. It's just like he showed up with
I'm
that.
trying to remember.
I mean, that's kind of, I know that's
trying to
derailing the
remember.
podcast, but that
No,
bugged me
no,
because
no,
I'm like,
yeah.
wait a minute, where did he get that cut from?
Yeah, yeah. I cannot recall, to be honest with you. You're right. I honestly noticed it this time. I was like, oh, look at that. It's because it's prominent. Like, there are a
Yeah.
lot of close-ups of his face. He's got a giant Band-Aid right on his face. And so yeah, you're right. I did notice. I was like, oh, it's just funny they put the Band-Aid on there. And I didn't even think, like, when did he get cut? When did he get hurt? Like, but yeah, like, there's so much stuff like the stealing of the surfboard and stuff like that that's not in the theatrical. It's just,
I think that's hilarious, though. That actually, that's a little bit of
Oh, I think
levity
it's
when,
great.
when they're searching for him. I love that part.
yeah,
Uh,
no, it's fantastic. And I think there is also some other, man, there is just so much great stuff in this movie to talk about, whether it is trying to piece together like this Kilgore character. Because I mean, some of those lines, those John Milius lines where it's, I love the smell of napalm in the morning, and they're fantastic. But then you've got the like other stuff where it's like super duper like politically complex and muddy. Like that village they're attacking is very obviously like a Viet Cong stronghold, right? Like, I mean, they have like machine gun emplacements and stuff like that, but it's also a school with like kindergarten children, and so that's kind of it starts to get this weird line of like,
and that's to your point on that. Martin Sheen comments that Kilgore's a good leader and he cares for his men. The only reason he's doing that attack is because he was, that's where they need to get Martin Sheen too, but he wasn't going to go. He's kind of blowing it off. Oh, it's too hairy. And then he hears about its surfing waters, and suddenly he's willing to risk the lives of his men and kill all these Vietnamese people and innocent children to do that. And so, to me, I like that as opposed to like Full Metal Jacket, which I think was almost too transparent with its critique of the war. This one makes it a little more subtle. It's showing, the indifference and the racism of American leaders in this war and what they're willing to do and how they don't really see the Vietnamese as humans. But then he does see that child that's injured, and he makes sure that the child and the mother are sent to a hospital on a helicopter out of there. And so it's kind of like, I think Martin Sheen says it later on, like they get men shot and then they put a Band-Aid on it or something like that. And then it is kind of the
machine gun.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's kind of represented in that sequence. And, when he says the famous line, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning," that speech ends with him saying, "Someday this war is going to end."
And then he just walks.
He just walks away. And it's like, well, what does he mean by that? Is he, he's almost looking on it, with nostalgia. It's like he really wants the war to continue because he's enjoying it to a certain extent. And that's, again, I think they're critiquing the war, but without getting too heavy-handed about it.
Well, and what's also interesting is that it's almost like by the time you can understand why somebody like Willard, Martin Sheen's character, by the time he gets to Colonel Kurtz, there is something, and this sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud, but there's something almost refreshing about his purity, because he's not going to put a Band-Aid on it. No, he's going to like burn your body, right? Like he doesn't care. Like, if we're going to fight a war, we're going to fight it, and it's going to be legitimate and all out and total. And so again, I'm not trying to defend the crazy man, right? Like, that's not where I'm at, but you can almost understand if you have been in country as long as Willard clearly has, and you've gone through and seen all this stuff, that by the time, like, you're just sick of the hypocrisy. You don't really care which way anybody goes, like Dennis Hopper talks about dialectics. I don't really care if you love or you hate, but do one or the other. Don't do this kind of halfway stuff. Don't be in the middle. Like, do something right. And again, it's again, that complexity, right? There's just so many moving parts on all these characters and all this story, and there's a lot to unpack.
The scene that best represents that to me is the scene on the boat when they stop the boat and they insist on it being searched fully, and Martin Sheen walks up and shoots the lady that could have been saved. I mean, essentially, he did the opposite of what Kilgore did, and is, you know, and that's a really interesting thing. It's like the duality of man, and if you see the Redux or the Final Cut, there's the sequence where the French woman says that, like, she says Martin Sheen is both the light and the darkness, and that's kind of true. So again, I do think in that sense that sequence is better explains the movie, but I still think it derails it a little bit. But it's also funny his name is Kilgore. Like, I mean, that seems like a blatant...
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
it's like might as well Sergeant Slaughter or something, you know. It's just...
Yeah, exactly. Going back to that French plantation sequence, one of the things that I do always love is the way it was shot. With the French people are sitting on one side of the table, and the Navy boat crew are on the other side of the table, and the French have the sun at their back the whole time through dinner, and it's like sunset.
And
right?
he keeps covering
so it's like
his
that
eyes.
golden sun, and he keeps having to cover his eyes because he can't. It's too blinding. It's right in his face, and then the French kind of get into a fight, like they're kind of arguing with each other, and like, I can't believe you would say this, or why would you do, you know, blah, blah, blah. And like they end up kind of like peeling off one at a time, kind of going away until they're finally gone. And by the time they leave, the sun is down and Willard can finally look up, and by that point they're all gone. And again, whether this was intentional, whether I'm reading too much into it, it's hard to say with this movie because who knows. But like, you know, it's one of those things where, is the symbolism supposed to be that they are so blatantly telling him, what you're doing here is stupid, you need to all just leave, this is ridiculous, and he just can't see it. It's blindingly in the face, but he's covering his eyes to it, and by the time they all leave and the conversation's over, he looks up and it's, you know, I don't know. I
didn't think of it that way, but I couldn't figure out why that, because they focus on it. I mean, they show him repeatedly trying to see, and I'm sure there's a reason for it, and I actually like your explanation, so that makes sense to me.
The metaphor of it is good. I don't know if that's, again, I may be reading way too much into the metaphor of it. But
well, I mean, he definitely does seem to be blinded, because they say, I mean, they literally say, learn from us what happened here.
Right.
So,
well, and it's also interesting too that, again, kind of with keeping with that going back in time, you know, they're talking about how they're not viewing Vietnam as a war to go fight, or we're over here to do this thing. We're like, this is our home. We have a plantation here. Our family has been here for generations. And it's sort of like that. It's almost like old school imperialism, right? Like now we have like neo-colonialism, neo-imperialism, where, you know, our corporations will come in, but we're not going to actually like transplant over there and try and like Pax Americana. Like, that's not where we're at, right? But like 200 years ago, that's exactly what you did. You know, you went, you claimed it, and that was now part of your sovereign territory, and you owned it, and that was part of France. And it's just, again, it's just keeping with that going back and back.
Well, that's what Eddie Izzard said in one of his specials about. If you ever watch Eddie Izzard, like his comedy, he talks about, he's like, do you have a flag? And like he's like, we planted the flag, and like, but we live here already. Right. Do you have a flag?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and it's I don't know. I really enjoy. Anyway, I love this movie, and we should probably move on. But
what do you give it?
Is fantastic. Oh, I'm going to give this a very high mark. I mean, like, if I have to pick top 5 movies of all time, for me, this makes that cut. So this would be very high. This is like a 9.5, 9.7. I mean, this is a very, very high.
I wouldn't put it in my top 10, but I would say I would give it an 8 for sure. I mean, it is a bit, you know, and again, it's more the ending. Even, and it's weird because, like I said, I like Brando's performance in it. I like all of that. It's just to me, it derails a little bit. It gets really bizarre. It's dropped down to number 53 on the list, by the way.
Oh, really? Wow, that's crazy. On a personal note, one of my instructors at film school was on the sound crew for Apocalypse Now.
Really?
And so he was actually in the Philippines on the sound crew over there. And he said his kind of anecdote was, he's like, this movie broke people. We had some people who just didn't show up to work the next day. And he's like, I understand we're like off in the jungle somewhere. So if they didn't show up, that means they just kind of like went away. Like, we don't know what happened to them. They just kind of lost it, but you've been out there for 200 days filming and you just kind of lose it and you walk off. He said, but by the end, they were feeding so many tape reels, because of course the audio was on magnetic tape reels, right, from a DAT recorder or whatever. And he was, passing off these, or a Nagra at that point, I guess. But anyway, he was passing off the tape reels to Walter Murch, who did the audio recording or the audio editing. And he said by the end, Murch had locked himself in his editing room, literally locked the door on it, and had a mail slot installed on the door so people could just put the recordings through the mail slot, and he just wouldn't come out. He like took his meals in there. He's like, we never saw him come out, never saw him go in. He just stayed in there and just kept going. It's like, that movie broke people. And I think, for my personal opinion, I think this movie might have broke Coppola as well.
Yeah.
I think, because if you look at his cinematography or his whatever, if you look at his after that, it just dropped.
I was gonna say, has he had a big, huge movie? I mean, because the 70s, Godfather Part 1.
Oh, the 70s. He won the Oscar for Conversation, Patton, Godfather 1 and 2, Apocalypse. I mean, he was firing out, and you got to remember too, like, Godfather is what, 72? Is that correct?
Yeah.
It's 72, and then Conversation and Godfather 2 are the same year of 74. Okay, and then 74 is when that happens, and then he doesn't do anything until Apocalypse. And so that's 5 years that he's working on this movie.
Right. Yeah. I mean, to say he didn't do anything, he's been working out the entire gap.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't do anything else. He only did Apocalypse for 5 years. And then after Apocalypse, it goes to like Rumblefish and, The Outsiders, which I'm not saying those are terrible movies, but they're just not at the same level as.
Well, and then at the 90s,
no one's going to see The Outsiders. And exactly.
Well, I do not like Dracula. I do not like his version of Dracula at all, and I know people love it. But the reason I bring it up, because I would almost say that's probably his most popular, most successful movie after. I mean,
Godfather 3 was like what, 90?
It was 90.
What year was that?
90, I think. But still, was that popular?
Yeah.
Was it?
I mean, it got nominated for Best Picture that year. I mean, it was at least well received. I got
you. That's true. So that, and then because now his films, I don't even know if they get like a wide release.
No, they don't.
And he still makes a lot. Like, he really does. He's made quite a few. I haven't seen them.
Oh, I mean, Youth Without Youth and Tetro, and like, I mean, I own several of those, and I kind of admire this about the man, for better or worse. I feel like he is a person who has kind of realized, like, hey, I could go to a studio and they'll give me $100 million to go make a movie because of my name. But I would much rather just get a bunch of people together and create something for the simple pleasure of creating. Like, I'm not doing it for a paycheck anymore. Like, I have all the money I need. I don't need to do that. I'm not trying to prove anything anymore. I've got my stack of Oscars. Like, I just want to go make a movie with my friends. And that's what he does. And I kind of admire that.
I mean, that's kind of like what George Lucas wants to do. I mean, he's trying to say...
Yeah, but he's bad at it.
Well, he's tried to say that he wants to go make more... But he's always kind of fought the system, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I say that because they're all friends. It's like George Lucas and Spielberg and De Palma and Scorsese and all that. Like, yeah, they're all friends.
That whole kind of like... I know this was a very short-lived cadre of people, but like the Zoetrope group...
Yeah.
Where it was Coppola and Lucas and Milius and Deschanel and all those guys, like that whole kind of group of guys. It's like, man, that is an amazing group of filmmakers, and it's just
I would say they're the ones that changed cinema forever. I mean, in the 70s, they redefined what it was. I mean, truly,
100%, no question. You will get no argument from me on that. Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I would get. Okay, so anyway, moving on. I think this movie completely, whether it derailed his career or it was simply the high watermark of his career. I mean,
see, I would say Godfather and Godfather 2 are better personally for me. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, I think you'd have to admit that this is probably his last truly.
I know, I agree with that. It sounds like you would rank this movie higher than those two. In your top.
I would probably put Godfather 2 higher, but okay. I think that's just my opinion. But now we're getting into that personal, subjective.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
Is it truly great, or is it personal,
or
I
hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, but yes, I would give this very, very high marks. I am kind of sad to hear that it dropped out of the top 50. I'm also kind of sad to hear that when we did our screenshot, it was only like 36. Like, that's kind of sad to me too. I feel like it should be a lot higher, but anyway, yeah.
Well, I wonder if we move further away from Vietnam War, if it's like people can't really connect with it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some of that, but there's also, I think, just people like to go give a 10-star rating to the last movie they saw on Friday night, and that's just kind of what people do. You know, that's why you end up with like, oh, Tenet is the #1 movie on IMDb. It's
or
like,
The Room.
Is it really The Room? Yeah, but that one totally earned it. So,
yes, it did.
At least with The Room, I could understand the dialogue. Tenet, on the other. Anyway, we'll come back.
I still haven't seen Tenet.
So, well, I mean,
I've heard very mixed things.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's a mixed thing to talk about. Poorly mixed thing to talk about.
So does that mean you're ready to talk about some crossover?
I mean, ready is a strong word, but I think it's probably time to talk about crossover.
Okay, and I guess I should have the synopsis, and I don't. Let me look that up real quick, unless you got it. But
I have it.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Go to it.
Crossover from 2006. The lives of a gifted athlete and his best friend change when they take a fateful trip to Los Angeles. The young hopefuls must use every skill at their command to topple the reigning streetball champions from their thrones. Wow, that sounds super epic.
And here's the trailer.
It's on. I'll beat it.
I don't know about this.
You owe me.
It happens at night.
Move the line. I want to hold the point spread. Uh-huh. Let's roll.
Underground.
It's a street ball, not the NBA.
All right, baby.
They can razzle-dazzle, overhand palm, and no flagrant fouls.
And it's about to cross over.
So you play basketball, huh?
Kinda, sorta.
Good game, man. Let me know when I have a bad one, sucker.
Vaughn ain't running no games no time soon. Gotta get my money right.
How you gonna get the paper?
I'm gonna have to do what I do.
I bet me and Four Eyes over there can be Tweedledee and Tweedledum in a 2-on-2. Give me my money, chump.
But for two friends,
You wanna go back and play against Jules again, man?
it could cost them everything.
I paid the team and you are on the team. You got to choose.
It sounded a lot like you was threatening my eligibility, man. Look, I can beat him.
You can't win. Jules hasn't lost in 3 years.
You got the gift, and you don't want it, and I do.
And we'll beat him together.
Yeah. This ain't horseshoes. This is street ball. On the streets of a legend, in my hood I'm a star. On the streets of a legend, in my hood. This is a chance of a lifetime. In my hood I'm a star. Roll them and fold them, they get nothing.
If a man wants something he never had before, he gotta do something he never done before. When I'm doing my thing, I can feel it.
On the streets of a legend, in my hood I'm a star. On the streets of a legend, in my hood I'm a star.
Crossover.
So that's Crossover from 2006.
Yes, it is.
Charles, this was totally your kind of movie. I can feel it. I can feel that you were just loving every second of this
that's
movie.
not. No. So I like we said last time, I never heard of this movie, and I don't know if it was popular or not. I don't know anything about it, but
it was not. I'm looking at its box office. It was not. It was not popular.
The thing is, I wanted to like it. I really did. I when I'm watching it, because I just hate ragging on movies that, again, we've talked about this before. Movies are hard to make. they don't always turn out the way you want it to. It involves a lot of moving pieces and a lot of people and a lot of different egos. And so I feel like this movie was made in good faith, and I don't feel like they were trying to make a crappy movie, but man, it fails on every level. I mean, part of it is Wayne Brady, who I only think of as a comedian, from Whose Line Is It Anyway, and as host of, Who Wants to Make a Deal, or whatever that's called. I can't remember the game, but so I can't take him seriously. I hate that, but I just can't take him seriously in this dramatic role, and I don't even understand what his character is. I never really understood if is he a sports agent? He used to work somewhere, but he wasn't very big, but he's got all this clout to be able to get people into the professional NBA. I don't get that. Also, this has that kind of obnoxious early 2000s style of editing, the flashy cuts and all that stuff that I just don't like. And I looked it up. It says it was shot on film, but to me, this reeks of like just crappy digital video, like some of the Genesis cameras and all that. But I don't know. So that just bothered me, a lot. But so the look of it and the editing is terrible. The acting is just bad all around. And I don't understand the plot. I mean, it's trying to be, I don't know. There's a lot of movies that kind of do this kind of same thing, like, going after your dreams and getting out of your circumstances and, all that stuff. But it ends up being more like a soap opera to me. It's like, it turns out Anthony Mackie, went to prison for his friend, somehow just because he punched somebody. I don't even know that. Like, they just throw that in there. The friend, what is Anthony Mackie's friend's name? I can't even remember what his name is. The guy that's like, the guy that's awesome at basketball.
Is it the Noah Cruz?
I don't know.
No.
But he's awesome at basketball, and he's got a scholarship, and he wants to be a doctor, and he's going to go out. He wants to go to L.A. and that's where he wants to go to college at. So they go out there, and he brings this girl that he's really only just met, and he proposes to her because she tells him she has his baby. She's pregnant.
He's going to propose to her before anyway. Right?
Yeah.
He was already gonna do it.
Yeah. And then like she hears about that he could possibly go pro, and so I don't know. But then he's also this whole thing with street ball. Like if you play it and get money, it cancels your scholarship for some reason. I don't really understand that. He didn't take the money anyway, but so he loses his scholarship. Still doesn't want to go pro, and the girlfriend, the fiance at that point, basically dumps him and starts trash talking him. And says it's not even his baby, it's his rival's baby. And then I don't know. And then it's just all these like things, all this like stuff happens, and it happens really fast. And there's no, maybe if they had like a redux cut of this and they added a lot more of the scenes in to further explain it in the character development, maybe that's what it is. It got, ruined in editing perhaps to make it more accessible.
There's a French plantation sequence we need to see.
Yes, I agree. Because it just, none of it makes sense. And even at the end, like, Anthony Mackie, it seems like, he's won this game. He's done it for all this money because he put all this money on it against all odds, wins it. And then Wayne Brady's like, well, I'm not going to pay you anyway. And he's like, oh, I don't care. And like, that's kind of how it ends, more or less. Like he walks off.
Exactly how it ends.
And then they do the whole thing where, they like, what happened to these people with the text at the end. And it's like, what is this? Like, it's like Fast Times at Ridgemont High or something.
As though we were somehow invested in these characters to the level that I care, right? Like that was so two things. Okay, several things. First off, the flashy editing. You're so right. And every time they took a wad of money and threw it in a shoebox, I'm like, I saw, Requiem for a Dream. That's where I saw this. And it was good when he did it. And now it's not. Now it's not good. And I can never watch, every time I watch Requiem, I'm like, did they go play street ball? Is that how they're pulling up this? Oh, no, there's
well, there reminded me a lot of Fast and the Furious, those early ones.
Yes. And it was,
but not as good. Not as good, though.
No, not as nearly as good. No, because we can come back to Fast and the Furious. But the other thing about this movie, and here I want to go back to your very first statement. Movies are hard to make, and I think this was made in good faith. And I think I think this is a movie. So this is a stupid example. There's an Aaron Sorkin quote where he's like, look, there's such a thing as context. If you wear a bikini to the grocery store, they throw you out. If you wear a bikini to the beach, nobody bats an eye. Like this is just now, Charles, if you wear your bikini, but the point being,
thank you.
There's such a thing as there's such a thing
clarified that.
That's right. Yeah. There's such a thing as context, though, doing it in the right place. Right. So like this movie, and it feels, because I agree with you, it looks like digital video. I mean, there are points where it's just that scene was shot on digital. You can tell it is just painfully obvious. Yeah. The lighting is just ham-fisted. It's just really like, this is so, it is painful. But if I was going to a senior screening at USC and somebody showed this as their student thesis film, I would go, man, you've got talent. Like, you're going to make it. Like, you could actually make it out here if you keep this up. But if I go plop down $20 on a Friday night at the local Cineplex to see this movie, I'm going to feel gypped. You know what I mean? Like, the context of like, where am I seeing this movie? Because like, if you had made this movie and shown it to me, I would have been like, dude, let's do it. Let's market this thing. Let's festival it. Let's do this whole thing. But again, if I go to a movie theater to see this, I'm going to be so disappointed. And it's just, again, that's why I have that whole, like, they finished their movie. It's in color. It may not be great. It's not fantastic, but like, I'd give this like a 3. I would give this like a 3 or 4 maybe. But like, again, simply because I feel like they didn't know what they were doing. It feels so much like somebody's first attempt to make a real movie. It's like they had enough money and enough talent on set. I mean, like, there were some legitimately decent actors, and there's some horrible actors too, but like, there were some legitimately decent actors.
Well, I like
in this
Anthony
movie
Mackie.
like,
I just don't like him in this movie.
No, agreed. Yeah, exactly. And it's just one of those things where it's like, you have the pieces. You clearly just aren't at a point where you either have enough experience or enough talent to make it work. And it was just missing a little bit of that. And but it was laughably bad at some points. I mean, and the story is, it's like, I agree with you on the soap opera front. It's sort of like, I don't know. I know we mentioned last time Twin Peaks. Like, I don't know if you're still watching Twin Peaks or not, but like the number of like
season, but
the number
I'm further along.
The number of subplots that are in that show, where it's like, oh, you've got this love triangle over here and the mill plot over here and the murder over here and this person over here and all that. Like, that's how this movie felt by the end. You're like, man, how many double crosses and relationships, and no, I went to prison, but it was for you, and this, and the baby's not yours. Turns out it's not his either. And then I'm going to punch this guy. Like, it just like, oh, you're like, good grief. Like, simplify, distill, well, like, less is more.
Not to interrupt your train of thought there, but I just remind myself, or you just reminded me that the girl that did all that with the double crossings and the pregnancies and all that, her friend still was friends with her and brought her to the last game, and they never explained why. I don't, like, really?
No, why are you even talking to this person anymore? Like, it's crazy. It's just, yes, again, there are so many plot holes, and then there are some places where there's a plot hole of just like, what? And then there's other places where it's just stop with the plot. You're just, I've got it. There's too much happening right now. And also, and this is, again, a situation where context, if this was a student film, some of this stuff would be amazing. But knowing that it had like a $4 million budget or something, it's not like when they get to that hotel and they're like, it's got a forest in it and a lake. And you're like, it's just a hotel lobby. Like, I mean, it's a nice hotel. It's a big place. Yeah. But like, you're acting like you've never seen places like this. And you live in Detroit. I mean, you may live in a bad part of Detroit, but like, the idea of a large city in America is not new to you, you know, like it just felt silly.
Well, speaking of that sequence in LA, Anthony Mackie his character, obviously he's the protagonist, but he just completely flips in that and he becomes a jerk. Like, he goes off against everyone. Yeah, it's like, wow, why am I still rooting for this guy? And what I said I didn't understand Wayne Brady's character, but they treat him like he's the bad guy. What did he do that's so wrong in this movie? Like, why do everybody trashes him like he's in the wrong business, he's sleazy. all he does is offer the guy a chance to go pro in the NBA.
Yeah, I feel like, yes, I feel like there needed to be some backstory of how he like betrayed somebody. Like, I made all these promises and then took all his money and ran, or like, but that story's not there.
Yeah.
Like, if that had been, it would be like, oh, it makes sense, but it's not there. And like, I guess it's that he's running the book on this like underground like basketball game, and so he's like kind of a sleazy, kind of mob related kind of guy who's running the bets. But they never really, again.
And he does pay, like he said, the losing team gets $1,000 a player.
Yeah,
it's like, well,
it's not like Joe Pesci from Casino. He's not like breaking kneecaps or something. You know what I mean? But they're kind of making him out to be that guy, and it's like, dude, he's not. It is, again, all the pieces are there. It just wasn't executed well.
Right.
It just was, again, whether that's a lack of talent or just lack of experience, he just didn't know how to. It would be like putting me in a race car. I kind of know how to do it, but I'm not going to do it well. You know what I mean?
But I do wonder if you'd put a different actor in there, and I'm being sincere when I say this. What if De Niro was the Wayne Brady character? Like, do you think he could have pulled off that type of thing and been more menacing? And is it the writing? Is it the acting? Is it directing? Is it both? All of it? So I don't know, but
well, I think there's two things there, right? I think I will stand by the fact that I think it's not there on the page. Right, he's not menacing because you need that character moment that grounds him as, I'm a knee breaker, right? Is that what he's doing? Is that who he is? If so, we need to see something to that effect.
Kind of like Alec Baldwin in The Cooler, if you've seen that.
Correct. Yes, that's a perfect example. But this didn't have that. So on the one hand, yes, it was not there on the page. The other thing is, I see Wayne Brady, and all I can see is whose line is it anyway. And I know that's not fair to him as an actor, but he also didn't. I don't feel like he did much here to stretch beyond that anyway.
No, he didn't.
Like, he just didn't. He didn't, like, even if it had been on the page, his performance wasn't. And again, I don't know if that's him. I don't. For all we know, at the end of every take, the director said, perfect, love it. And so he's doing exactly what he's being told to do. I don't know where the fault actually lies, but that character's not menacing. That character's not scary. And Anthony Mackie is just as bad for what you just mentioned, right? Because on the page, he's our hero who's like abusive to this girl and beating up random strangers on the back lot when he's filming in Los Angeles. And like, and he went to jail, and like, I mean, not that that's, they kind of explain all that away and everything. I get it. But like, it's just like, I feel like he is a complex character, but I can't figure out why I'm supposed to root for him. Like, you can have a complex character that you can root for. I can't figure out why he is that.
But also, like, he went to jail. The other guy's the one that threw the punch. The other guy's not aggressive at all in any part of this movie. That doesn't even make sense. So he goes to jail for a punch. Okay. But then he punches some other guy and nothing happens. Yeah. There's no... well, okay, wait a minute.
Like, you may have gone to jail for his actions, but you're doing the exact same thing. It's not like you're like a saint who's like taking his place or something. Like,
they could have came up with a better thing, like he'd killed someone or whatever, but they didn't. They just none of it made sense.
And I feel like the female characters are even more two-dimensional.
Yes, they are.
Like, they're just kind of like caricatures of, I'm the promiscuous girl on the street, and I'm the, it's like, these are like, there could be character here. There's no reason for these to not be actual developed characters. Everyone's getting character development in this movie. Like, just give them some. Like, I don't know. Again, how much of this was legitimate failure from a lack of talent, and how much of it was just lack of experience? I don't know. But it is painful. It is absolutely painful. And the basketball sequences.
Oh, go ahead.
The basketball sequences are unbearably long. I mean, just unbearably long. They just go on and on and on and on. I think that first opening game was like 25 minutes long or something like that.
This is dropped out of like the bottom 100 at all. It's not even on there, that list anymore. In its place is a movie called Gun Day from 2014. I don't know.
Sounds like quality.
Well, it's one word, so I don't even know if it's Gun Day is how you spell it, but it's one. I don't know. And then we didn't mention this before, but Terminator 2 is the number 36 spot currently on the good list.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
all right, that's I can approve of Terminator 2 being on there. I don't know that it should be higher than Apocalypse Now, but I mean,
so you said you'd give this
oh,
one a 3 or a 4?
yeah, I mean, like a 4 would be pretty generous, but like I could give this a solid. Again, I keep coming back to this. If you had come to me and said, "Hey, check out my student film from when I was at film school," and shown me this movie, I would have been like, "Wow, that's really good." Like, but I'm not going to go to a theater and pay money to see this movie.
I would give this a 3, but that's sticking to your scale. So I
give the minimum. If you weren't bound by
no, but
bound by my scale.
It's still pretty. I don't know, but a 2. But I think a 3, keeping to it, because they did complete a movie and it's professionally done.
Okay, yeah, and okay, I can give you that. I think they did actually make their money back, by the way, which there's something to be said for that. Like, if you can complete your movie and make money doing it.
And as we said, Anthony Mackie is the Falcon, so he's definitely gone on to greener pastures.
I mean, yeah, sure. This movie cost $5.8 million, and opening weekend it made 3.7, and it ended up grossing over 7 million. So, like,
well, there you go.
I mean, so they did okay. They did okay. Yeah, I mean, nobody's making like 7 sequels to it or anything like they did with Fast and Furious, but it's
no, we're up to 9, and that's not counting. 9's coming out this year, and that's not even counting Hobbs and Shaw, the spinoff. So there's actually been 10 of them.
Geez. So bad.
And they have Academy Award-winning actors. Helen Mirren is in 8 and 9.
If people would stop seeing them, they would stop.
They're entertaining enough. They're entertaining.
They're entertaining. They are. We can talk about Fast and the Furious another time. I'm sure it'll show up on our list somewhere.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. I think they're right in the middle of the road. They're not like great, and they're not terrible. They're just right there in the middle, like a Marvel movie. So, I guess then. So we'll both give this one a 3.
Yeah. Okay.
We're going to give Apocalypse something quite a bit higher. So to touch on for next time.
Okay.
To make things as super duper confusing as possible, the good movie is Leon the Professional.
Okay.
And the bad movie is The Apocalypse. Not Apocalypse Now, but The Apocalypse.
These are the 35th good and bad. Is that what they are? 35th worst and best.
Those are the 35th, yes, best and worst movies. I will say this, and I know I just said it a moment ago. It is hard for me to picture Leon being above some of the ones we've already watched. We'll talk about that next time, but anyway, it's just.
And is The Apocalypse? What year is that from?
Oh God, it was like 2000.
I feel like that was a made-for-TV movie, so I think I saw it. Okay,
it was.
I think I saw it when it aired.
It's like a religious movie.
Yeah, I think I've seen it.
Yeah, I've started doing a little digging to see where I'm going to be able to find this movie to watch this movie. So,
yes.
Yeah, the old conundrum. So
if we can't find it, what's the? Let's see. Where did we got? What's the other one on the current worst? What's 35?
Oh yeah, what's
currently?
the current 35th worst? I don't know. Let's find out because it won't take me but a second.
Yeah, because there's very good. Some of the bad ones, they're so obscure we can't find them.
Yeah, that is a problem. Just one moment. I'm so sorry. I was all ready with these other ones. I didn't.
I know. That's on me. You were good because you had all the synopsis and all that ready. So
I was trying to be as look like we know what we're talking about and know what we're doing and stuff. And there we go. Here we go.
All right.
Maybe. I'm looking.
Well, while you're doing that, I was gonna say
it's okay.
I finally got my book in. I've been waiting on this. I ordered this last year. It's the autobiography of George Méliès.
Nice.
And it was a lost for years. He wrote it not too long before he passed away, and he was French, so obviously it was in French, and it just kind of got lost to time. Got a couple guys that did a Kickstarter campaign on it, and they translated it to English for the first time and started selling it. So I just got it in the mail. It took months to get here from the UK, but it's really cool. If you haven't heard of him, you should check out his films. He's kind of the, one of the earliest directors and the first one to really create like sci-fi and maybe even horror as we know it. So what's up? Did you find it?
I'm just laughing at the like. I'm sorry. Yes, that is fantastic, and that would be interesting to see because that he is kind of a forefather of filmmaking. The 35th movie now, if we can't find The Apocalypse, which, as I said before, is kind of a religious film about, well, the apocalypse. The current 35th is Left Behind, starring Nicolas Cage.
Oh,
so
no.
Apparently
that's the remake, isn't it?
Movies.
That's the remake of the Kirk Cameron one.
2014, yeah.
But they had
Nick Cage.
Weren't there multiple ones of the Kirk Cameron one?
Oh yeah, like they went deep. Yeah, they went far there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no, there's so I can't. Yeah, Nicolas Cage. Are we gonna have like any Nicolas Cage movies that are? Man, I need to look at our list and see if at any point we have a Nick Cage movie and best and worst simultaneously.
If for the Good Bad Podcast, if you ever want to propose a Nick Cage genre, I mean, I don't know what you pick as his good movie, but you have many more choices for ugly.
Vegas, right? Because he won an Oscar for it, right? Like,
yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah. You're not going to pick that one, okay?
I don't know. I don't know.
So next time, next month, next year, whenever it may be,
it'll be probably 2 months.
It looks like Leon the Professional, and either The Apocalypse or Left Behind, but one way or the other. No one's making it out alive, apparently.
So true. Awesome.
It's too bad that The Apocalypse and Apocalypse Now didn't coincide either.
Yeah, no
kidding.
There's
so many things that could have been. Oh gosh. Yeah. No, it's gonna be a good one. I can feel it. Because Natalie Portman's like 12. So okay,
that's why it's going to be a good one. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Okay, all right.
I don't know what that means.
Okay.
It's like she's kind of got a. I'm sorry, I'm going off on that movie. We're not even talking about it, but it always reminded me in a weird way of Taxi Driver, rather.
Wow. That's the Taxi. Was it Danny DeVito that you're thinking
of? Taxi. Natalie Portman.
Now we're just dating ourselves.
Taxi Driver with Jodie Foster.
I know what you meant. My first thought was Danny DeVito or Tony Danza. I don't know.
Of course it was. Natalie Portman, Tony Danza. Okay, well, I'm gonna say we need to wrap this up because we're starting to get a little slap happy. So, as always, here at 50/50 Good Bad Podcast, you can watch us live on Facebook or listen to the replay on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and YouTube by searching 50/50 and IMDB. And of course, you can find all our podcasts at itsjustawesome.com. But whatever your preferred method, just be sure to like and subscribe and all those good things. So, yes, Charles, it's always a pleasure. It's always fun.
Indeed, this was fun. I feel like our conversations over the years have gotten much more in depth. Like, we're agreeing more and more, but we're also really talking in depth about like Apocalypse Now. I think it's a good discussion, and I think people should watch it. It's an interesting thing. So
it's easier to go deeper on Apocalypse Now than it is Beastmaster or whatever we watched in the beginning. So
or the what was
Puma Man?
Puma Man, yeah, Puma Man's great, and it wasn't Santa Claus, was it? I don't know. Anyway.
Or Ator, the whatever. Yeah, There's so many delightful movies. It is. I agree with you. I think it's fun to kind of go deep on some of these. So.
It is, and that's
all right.
In that sense, our podcast has definitely evolved.
Yes, for better or worse.
Yeah. Long-time listeners won't know what hit them.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, guys, it's been wonderful, and Charles, it's been great, and we'll see everybody next time.
All right. Have a good one, everybody.